And we're live. Welcome to the Children of the Beast, episode number 4. I am Andrew, and I'm joined with always.
Hello, everybody. This is Carlos.
Hello. How was your week?
Week was good. Busy week. But good. You know, just in the thick of summer, man. This week was actually more workable because we had more days that we were like in the lower
Only
100s.
Yeah,
I actually dared to wash my truck on Friday afternoon outside the office, it's the first time this summer I washed a truck myself, but I had enough.
Sounds very hot. Still sounds very hot.
And I take the truck to the car wash, and it's not cheap.
No.
And
they don't do that great of a job.
They do a piss poor job. And you know, if you got to do something right, you got to do it. You got to themselves. So I washed the truck, and it didn't put me out. Normally I wash the truck and I'm like sweated through my clothes. Then I come home and I go to sleep, and I was like, and I washed it in under an hour. I wasn't sweating. I was like, oh, I think I'm heat conditioned again.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
So I feel like
good because the 110's coming back next weekend.
Yeah, for real. It's going to be rough. But I have a question, right? You have a 6-year-old boy. Why don't you do it at home with him?
No, that's not doable. I mean, because you're not doing it. You're playing car wash for them.
Yeah,
I need to get the shit done. I need to be picking you up so that you can wipe this and wipe that. I need to get the shit done. Like, some things are not meant to be a game.
And yeah, you would not have done it in under an hour with James.
No way. No. And then like I can't listen to my fucking thing, and I have to be answering questions. Like, you make the best out of situations, but none of it is fun. Like, I would never work at a car wash. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
yeah.
So there's just certain things that it's just like, it doesn't help me to have the help or the company. There's certain things I need to do the way I do them with my headphones in and zoned out and get it done and be done with.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like the rest of it.
It's a chore at
like,
the end of the day.
Well, it's a chore that I'm the most efficient if I figure out how to do something dreadful to not be so dreadful.
Sure, totally.
As soon as somebody else's curiosity forces me to make it dreadful, then it's going to be dreadful for me. And that person's going to be done in 15 minutes. And I still got to do it. So I just put a kibosh in that shit from the beginning. Like, some things are just, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to set an unrealistic expectation from here forth. So yeah, that's why. But no, it was good. It was good. Just, like I said, a little bit tiring. But other than that, you know, just plugging away, seeing what happens with this lockdown.
I feel like I hear a rumor every day that we're going back to stage 1. We're going back to stage 1. Everyone watch out. We're going back to stage 1.
I was freaking out. I had to go to a casino. Sure. I had to go to a casino for work on Wednesday, I believe. And this is not one of the, it's on the Strip, and it's on the nice side of the Strip, but it's actually like, it's across from like Caesar's Palace area, and it's a small property. And so I'm driving northbound on Las Vegas Boulevard, just past Flamingo, just north of Flamingo, because I'm going to turn right. And there's a traffic light by Margaritaville. And I look to the right, and the Strip is so odd because there's people that are running, right? And there's a couple people are running and biking. And then you have a couple of super weird, generic as basic looking American tourists.
Nice.
Like, just
Good for them.
Ted and Nancy walking around the Strip. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? By the way, all of them within the goddamn risk factor of the pandemic. You know what I mean? Overweight, rosacea stricken.
Definitely have some sort of hypertension.
Smelling like cigarettes. Fucking, you know, walking out of like all the bad markers. But the rest of them, homeless people. And I'm not talking about the seedy parts of the Strip. I'm talking about the parts of the Strip that are like the nicer areas that are newer.
Right.
Full of homeless people, dude. I look to the right, and there's a fine young gentleman there finishing up what appears to be a bottle of white wine, and he finishes it up.
What time was this at?
This is 11:35 in the morning, sir.
Well, it's 5 p.m. sometime.
Yeah. Somewhere. In Vegas, and it was Wednesday. And this man finishes his bottle of wine, right? I'm at the light, across Caesar's Palace. And he takes a bottle of wine and just like Charlie in the Foxhole style grenade goes,
oh my God.
And he tosses the motherfucking bottle. The bottle lands in the middle of the street. There's people, regular Americans,
just trying to go about their
walking
day.
By. And
they're like shattering, of course.
And I'm appalled by all of it because I'm like, first of all, I agree. I'm appalled by the man that just threw the fucking bottle in the middle of the street. But I'm more appalled at the fact that you fucking normal looking people are here on vacation. What is going on with your life? that you're like, is the deal that good for the room?
cheap tickets
To come
cheap
to an empty ass Las Vegas that has nothing going on. Half of the games. So this casino that I was at used to have card games and stuff like that, like a pit. Not a pit anymore. They have a new thing that I'd never seen before. This, I mean, I suppose they existed before, but we used to have regular dice pits at that property, and this one doesn't. And they have this thing now, which is like an octagon shaped type of sitting arrangement, right? Okay. With the different stations on each side, and in the middle there's a big bubble. And in this bubble, it looks like a boggle set, right? And this in the middle of this bubble, when it's your turn, you press it, and the dice pop up, and then they land. And so that's like your dice.
Trouble, the board game Trouble.
Yes. And
that's a good board game.
One lonely guy having a gambling party.
Oh.
He has money on this side. He's not sitting down because he's animated. There's no one around him. He's by himself. And this is not an old man. This was like a 27-year-old African-American dude that looked like he had just gotten done playing basketball at the park. Like he looked like a young dude, but he was wilding out by himself on this trouble dice roller, throwing the dice or bumping, I guess, for lack of a better word. He hit the bump on the dice, and he's doing all the hollering and the craziness. Right. He's got money, but there's no one with him.
But he's winning though.
I don't know.
He appears to be winning.
I mean, the excitement is taking place. Like he's getting his kicks one way or another.
Well, good for him, man.
It was fucking interesting, man. So, and then of course, as I'm doing work in that casino, who do I see come out of the subway? The fine young American that tossed the bottle in the middle of the street. This guy has no idea what's going on. I mean, you can tell this is.
What type of drugs do you think he was on?
I don't think there is a type of drug that those people are not on.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Anything you get his hands on.
Yeah. I think they cook their heroin with puddle water, from right outside the strip, and then they mix it up, man. Rona what is what it looks like. And I thought it was only like a pocket there, but then on the way when we got done, we took the strip all the way down to get back to our office, and just kind of out of curiosity, it looks like Night of the Living Dead, man. And I only had wooden stakes because I forgot how you kill zombies. And I got
wooden stakes are for vampires.
I know. I left the house and the office with a wooden stake and silver bullets, and that's needed.
Silver bullets and werewolves.
I know, and thankfully I didn't run into any of them, but I was ready.
Any teen wolves, just roaming sad teen wolves.
God damn. It's rough, dude. It is so rough. But yeah, that was we'll see. I mean, I got the notice for the school district that the kids are going to go virtual for sure. Right.
Yeah, which is kind of the only thing they can do.
It's the most practical thing to do. With the information that we have up till this point, is the most practical thing to do. You have to set up a full school year. You can't just wing the beginning and then change it later. And we are on track based on the information that as Americans we're being given by a bunch of fucking self-interest sources. It looks like we're about 6 months away from a vaccine. The timelines for 6 months from now seem appropriate because this is the biggest push for a vaccine that we've ever had as a humankind. Someone's going to get super rich from making this vaccine. The best thing about it is that nothing incentivizes the free enterprise of the pharmaceutical industry like what we're doing right now.
Money.
So that's the parts for all you fucking idealists that want to spread all the fucking wealth that other people created. Fuck all that. I want the most motivated guy to come up with this fucking vaccine, for that guy to know that his name's going to go down in history. That's how you get the best fucking inventions. That's why, how much innovation do you see coming out of Russia? Not a whole lot, because those people are not allowed to be creative and they're not incentivized by that. So I think we're hopefully going to be looking at a vaccine of some sort. Good thing too is because I had to take that trip, I was freaked out, right? Sure. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you now because I don't want to just allude to it. It's eventually, going to be something that we talk about. So my 3.5-year-old has formal leukemia that's treatable. That we're very lucky with the doctors, and he got diagnosed on the beginning of the year, on January 1st. So we're very careful, obviously, with all this stuff. And because of that, I was freaking out about having to go to this property, but it's something that only I could do, and I had to take another one of my guys with me. So I was freaking out. I got on the CDC website. I got on the governor. You told me to kind of go to Sisolak's office. At least it's the official version, whatever the fuck's going on. And it's calming when you can we're always going to hear so much noise, and they always want to, believe it or not, there's people of different races that are getting along. That shit's just not making the news right now. What's making the news right now is all of the shit that's negative, that's gonna feed somebody's rage monster inside when they click on it. But there's also, when I was looking at the statistics, I was like, fuck, in Nevada, we're at less than 500,000. We've tested about 420,000 people. Out of those, there's about 38,000 positive tests. Out of those, there's maybe 1,000 people dead. Those percentages, the CDC, you have a 99.5% chance of surviving corona, and that's according to the CDC for everyone, and that includes the people with risk factors and all that. Now, there's a lot that we don't know. They think that long-term effects of it and all of this, and I understand that. But when you see an autopsy of somebody that dies from corona, you're not getting the coroner is not getting that person's full medical records either. That person just gets to analyze that body after that death, and they go in there already knowing that body has corona. But it doesn't tell you in what state that body was prior to corona and what kind of lifestyle and all that. So some of that stuff I think is a little bit it can be alarming, and if you need to find some information to feel alarmed, you can find it. But thankfully, if you need to find some information to at least have a shred of rational balance in your head so that you can go on with your day, then I think that stuff is there too. So, that's what I did that day. I read some stats and I was like, all right, well, let's keep it together. Right. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, people are not dropping like flies here, and we gotta just be careful. That's all. Just consider other people. Somebody out there could be more vulnerable to it, and you don't want to be the son of a bitch that does it, but it is alarming. I want businesses to go on, but it's not going to, in a time where businesses have struggled to survive, no one is going to willingly spend money to be accountable and to be for the containment of this disease. And unfortunately, the number one thing I see is that no business has, all the businesses are talking about being open, but they don't have a plan of what they're going to do if they have a positive test. I have a hairstylist that we go to prior to this, who, by the way, has an immune deficiency herself. And at her salon, somebody tested positive. So they had everybody tested, but they didn't tell them who it was. I should have the right to know if I worked a shift with somebody that tested positive so that I can calculate the time ranges of when they tested positive to see if I...
So, right, isn't that HIPAA though? Aren't they not allowed to disclose to you exactly who it is? I mean, they should be able to disclose to you if you worked in the shift where the person tested, and then I guess it's up to you to deduct from yourself from that. But I don't think by law they're actually allowed to because of HIPAA. That's my understanding.
I think that probably does fall under HIPAA law, but... If you have AIDS and you fuck somebody and you don't tell them, you're liable. So obviously there's exclusions to that.
Sure.
So where is that? You know what? And also, and I'm not saying tell you, but if the business could say, hey, listen, on your shift, somebody tested positive.
Yeah, no, I think that's
narrow it down a little bit as opposed to like, well, no, that person's isolated. Test yourself, and we just go on as normal. If you're negative, you're negative. We don't tell you shit like that. We're not at a point where we know enough about the disease for that. I have another friend. I told you about my friend that works for a very big gym. Same thing. That day there was a bunch of people that used that room,
of course,
and before that, and so.
Well, no, and I'm glad you brought this up because I brought this up to my college. I'm on student government. I have the ability to talk to administration and to kind of ask these types of questions. And their response is, well, we report it to the health district, and the health district takes care of all the contract tracing. They're completely just avoiding that culpability, which seems to be understandable, right? Because you don't want to necessarily have to devote resources to do that if you're a business where that's not necessarily what your business entailed, right? My college is not in the business of contacting people for
and I get that, but we have to remember that at some point, iron workers in this country, there was a point where the employer was not fucking forced to give him a hard hat. And eventually the employer had to assume that providing one hard hat right? It was part of the cost of doing business.
So are you making the case for unions then?
No, I'm making the case that sometimes you do have to, as a company, take some sort of accountability and absorb some of those costs.
Right. I don't disagree with that, but I just don't think companies are going to necessarily do that when they don't have to.
No, and that's the main thing. I agree with that. I think that
Capitalism,
it has to be.
Bitch.
I think, it has to be. But I have every right to, not do business with people that handle a situation like this in that manner.
Sure, totally. I'm just not sure.
I'll tell you one, and this is a small example, but I have people that do the landscaping here at our house, and they take care of the backyard and all that. One time, the gentleman, and they're great, by the way. Like, I fucking love them. Shout out to Paradise Lawn. No, they're great. Like,
they're listening.
The owner checks up on my son and sends Jamie texts and all that. They're great. They're great. But when I first got them, I got them because I was sick of my other gardeners, and my other gardeners have very little stuff to take care of here. Like it's mostly desert landscaping, but I don't like dealing with it. And I don't like dealing with the fucking clock and the irrigation system and the time schedules.
That's the whole thing.
I know it's easy. I know I can do it, but it's not a challenge I'm willing to take on. You know what I mean? It's almost like you could tell me I could be a great dancer. Never going to do it. Don't give a fuck about dancing. Never will. Unless we're ironically dancing, count me out. If you take dancing seriously, I don't take you seriously as a man. That's it. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I am a caveman and I'm not evolved at all. All right, I'm sorry. That's like, what do you want me to do? What do you want? But anyway, there's wonderful people at Paradise Lawn. So the guy accidentally, over here on the other side, there's the valves of the ground or whatever, and he opened up the wrong one. And the one that he opened it while the other homeboy was blowing the leaf so they can hear each other, right? And he opened it, and he thought it was the one for the irrigation. It was the fill for the pool.
Oh.
Well, they left.
Oh.
And that shit's overflowed. And he got into this room, which used to be my small garage. And so I called Paradise Lawn, and I was like, dude, the fuck? And they're like, well, how do you know? I was like, because I got it on video, because I have a surveillance system around the house. And I was like, look. And so I sent her the thing. Yeah. And I sent her the video, and I was like, look, I'm not trying to be out of order or anything, but I don't know how much it's going to cost me. I think we may have been at my in-laws overnight or something like that. It was like 7 hours of the shit. Or maybe we didn't notice it.
Sure.
Because they come on Fridays. And so maybe I didn't notice it, but I remember waking up the next day, and I go outside, and I'm like, the fucking backyard was like a foot of water, bro. And
dogs
like,
were just swimming.
No, this shit's gonna fuck up like the siding of the house and the fucking stucco, and it's water, man. And so I called the lady, and before I called her, I told my wife, I'm like, look, they accidentally did it, blah blah. To me, it's not about like, I don't expect you to give me 5 services for free or not, but as a consumer, how you react to this is going to tell me everything about our business relationship.
Totally. Yeah.
And in the end, it only cost us like $40 in water. So I didn't care, but I didn't know how much it was going to be, because I never leave the water just wide open for fucking 13 hours. So it's not an experiment that I ever conducted on any control environment.
Well, now you know.
Yeah. And so, but anyway, when I contacted her, she's like, well, you know what? Just let us know what happens to the water and we'll figure it out. That's all I need.
Right, sure.
And, but if I had called her and they give me the runaround, right? And then it gets to where it's the next time that the service comes and I still haven't spoken to anybody, we got a problem.
Right.
And that's, I think, what some of this business I don't understand. And again, free market. I have the right to never set foot at that fucking gym again, and I won't. Right. And with regards to the salon, like, it sucks, but I can't fuck with it. Not for now. I mean, I used to take my son to do the haircut there, but for now, until I know more, he wanted a blue mohawk anyway. Well, let's talk about hair. Now there's not going to be school anyway, because what I always tell him is like, it's the summer, you can do whatever the fuck you want with your hair, but it's not going to be the summer anymore. So I'm just like, I mean, I can't mess with it, like.
Well, and I mean, right, he inspired me to do this. That's 100% why I did this. I thought he looked good with it, and I thought it'd be fun.
Yeah, he's funny, but the casinos are in a similar situation. I don't know if you saw the thing on USA Today. USA Today
about the Supreme Court decision?
No. They reported that 125 people had gone back home to the respective states 2 weeks ago with Corona from being in Las Vegas.
Well, and we're like one of the few states that has like several different strains of coronavirus in this state.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Because there's like different strains of the coronavirus that are going around.
Well, yeah, but some of them already existed.
Well, sure. No, but I mean specifically of like this version, there's several strains of this coronavirus that have populated around
like
different
the New
regions.
York one,
Yeah,
the
yes,
Italian one.
exactly. And we've one of the few states that have shown positive cases for each different strain. So another great little fact to make you feel better about the whole situation.
Well, yeah, but that also, I mean, between all the rush testing, and I don't really know how reliable some of those statistics are. And again, like we said last week, they're not supposed to be reliable because they're happening on the spot in real time. And we're getting information in real time that in the past we learned about after the fucking pandemic's been contained and they gather up all the data, then all the information comes out, and that's what you learn in school. This is like we're trying to act like the knowledge should be like
instantaneously
corroborated, and you know, and it's not that simple, man. You know, so it's been a little stressful. But
let's go back because did you see the Supreme Court decision against, well, I guess not against Sisolak because they ended up agreeing with them, but right. So somebody sued Governor Sisolak here in Nevada, basically on behalf of religious organizations. Talking, and their argument was casinos are limited to half of their capacity, yet other businesses are limited to 50 people regardless of their actual capacity. So if their capacity is 20, they're not allowed to limit themselves to 60. They're falling under that 50. So they were suing on behalf of religious organizations, churches, synagogues, mosques, and the Supreme Court ultimately ruled in favor of Governor Sisolak and the closure. So churches and these sort of other businesses and organizations got kind of fucked in a way, which is really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain degree, I think that sometimes people idealize the justice system, and
sure, totally.
You know,
it's almost like
a judge
panacea sometimes.
Yeah, and a judge in that kind of situation, it's not often that a judge has to the judges have to weigh out financial consequences for huge industries, you know. And as much as I agree with all those fine businesses, the casinos are
I don't disagree
something
with
that we have to cater to. You know, like I would much rather see him. To be honest with you, I would much rather see him do something about the protests. I know that it's our right and everything, but we've given up other rights after 9/11 for the safety of the country. And when some of the things are going as far out of control as they're going, and we're in the middle of the pandemic, I feel like the pandemic would be enough to say, well, from now on, for the time being, you have to find a different way to protest.
Well, and it is crazy that medical experts have cited racism as a systemic problem that is also like a medical health problem. So it's okay to go protest, just wear a mask. That doesn't wash. I'm sorry, that just doesn't wash with me.
No, that's me neither. You know, but again,
and there are plenty of
everything feeds off attention. Yeah. Right. Social media, the fucking protests, a video of a cop on YouTube. Every one of those things is done and exposed and promoted to garner a level of attention. That's the currency when there is no currency to exchange for a good. I say we have to be more diligent in a personal level about who you're going to reward with that currency. You know, it's up to us to say, okay, well, this is not costing money, but the intention of this is to garner clicks or garner or to be propagated at some point, and it's just not participating. The best thing you can do towards behavior that you disagree with is being different towards it. Don't act like they don't exist. You know, and I know that's the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing because everything is made to bait you into a reaction. You know, but the best thing we can do is I mean, for instance, I heard that the Macaroni Grill closed here in town.
I did not hear that.
20 years too fucking late. That fucking sucks. I'm gonna feel bad that your shit food is no longer gonna be available, you son of a bitch. Like, no, fuck you. You should have adapted a long time ago, motherfucker. Guess what? But back when people used to think that your food was good, there was no cooking shows, there was no cooking channel, there was no YouTube. People didn't know what it took to make a fucking cheese sauce, and you could put all your bullshit in it, and people had no other option. If they wanted to eat Italian, they had to go eat your bastardized version of Italian food. Well, I don't feel bad that shit fucking shut down. That's like to me what I'm hearing is like extra. The telegraph has gone down in usage. Well, yeah.
Nobody's lamenting the loss of the beeper.
You know, like, of course not, because the phone does both now. Like,
Right, yeah.
I beeped you on the phone, and then you texted me back on the phone, and then we emailed on the phone. So we don't need the telegraph. Like, so I don't know. I kind of think some of those businesses, I'm like, hey man, fucking what ifs, dude.
Like, I mean, like Circuit City closing down, for example, or
Circuit City closing down, or and Fry's, dude. Like, I've walked into Fry's and Fry's is empty.
Yeah.
And I walked into Fry's over the last 3 years to buy some like basic shit.
Sure.
And they're like, well, do you have available online? And then I get online and half of the shit that I click on says that it's shipping out of Las Vegas. But if I go to the Las Vegas store,
it's not
fucking
it's
there.
not there.
And it's little things like that. And that's what I mean about the idealism. It's like somebody's more likely to talk shit about Pacific Gas and Electric because they're an old company than fucking Postmates. And to me, these new companies like Postmates and like they're just as bad as the old companies. They're just new. But as soon as a tech company gets big enough, a greasy fuck from the last guard steers it into the shitty ass integrity lacking direction that they've always operated on. There's like, oh, you guys answer the phone? No, you can't have that. You gotta have an answering machine and dissuade people. How many numbers do they have to press before they get a live human being? 2? No, you need 5 options. You need the filtering's got to be greater, otherwise you're going to be flooded with calls.
Hold on, though. I don't think it's a matter of that. I think it's a matter of limiting cost, right? It's cheaper to operate a automated phone service than
No. But I don't think it's a matter of limiting cost. I think it is a matter of controlling controlling the appearance of what you're selling versus what you're actually selling. If you can, it's like testing. If you can log complaints for something, you're going to have less complaints. Sure. If it takes a half hour for people to be on the phone to get an answer from you, then the only reviews that you're going to get are the good reviews, and you can pay for those, and you can stifle all the negative reviews.
So that just seems a byproduct of cutting costs, though. I still think it comes from cutting costs, though.
I don't think so, because there's companies that continue to provide good service without cutting costs. Because they just sell more because they have good service, like a Traeger grill type of thing. If you can't put together,
they're also significantly smaller scale than like a Postmates, though, right?
Maybe some of them are, but some of them are able to still give you the service that you want to get. Like, for instance, Cox Cable, their tech support's great. If you ever call Cox Cable, man, they'll be able to. As long as you stick it out on the phone, you'll figure it out. Sure. You know, and that's because
that's typically my experience with it.
Yeah, that's I mean, fair. So I don't think it's that so much. I just think that some people know that the majority of the laziness of the regular human being is not going to take that complaint far enough. And that person's going to get over it. And the next time, they're just going to order Carl's Jr.'s instead of the other thing that never showed up. Yeah. You know, like I've watched guys drop off food at the wrong house. There's no recourse.
Right.
No one gets
like some sort of $10 credit.
How is it that you cannot do anything about it if you're watching your Postmate go to the wrong address? The guy works for you. You're tracing him or her. Right? Tracking him. Yeah. This all works off of a fucking address and GPS. You have the person's history.
I don't know how they do stuff.
How in the actual fuck is that can happen and you don't go, you know what? Fucking Ding Along is on his way back to Chicken Shack to get another order and drop it off at the right address. Oh, no. They just moved past it. That's how they do it. Well, that's not UPS can't do that. FedEx can't do that. You know what I'm saying?
I guess they've just done the cost benefit analysis where it's just easier to let that happen. I guess you're right. Well, no, cost benefit analysis, right?
That's what I'm saying.
It's a cost thing. It's cheaper to kind of just let that happen than to.
Maybe it's cheaper because you're still capturing more audience, but you're going to lose me, and you're determining that it's okay to lose me.
Yeah, because
the problem is that 5 years from now, all the people that you captured used you once or twice. Sure, I wouldn't have stopped using you. So it depends on what your model is.
If you're a CEO of a business like this that gets brought in, I would assume you're in for short-term profits, so you can boost the company, boost your resume, get out to some other place, and continue to do that.
Yes, that is a problem with CEOing. Yes, 100%. Yeah, 100%. That's a problem with CEOing. You know,
which again comes down to cost.
But also, I guess that's also a thing is that's a hired CEO. a CEO who came up with his own fucking project and runs it has less of a tendency to fall into those practices because
but that's so rare, especially with tech companies, because they need that venture capitalism. They need that. They need that funding.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. And I mean, and that's where the shit gets greasy, you know? Yeah. But there's other companies. I mean, at the same time, and I enjoy that. Like as a sport, I do. I like business, you know?
Sure.
I always have my entire life. I've been in business and I like business and I like watching what different people, sometimes it's amazing what somebody gets away with. You know,
right.
There's sometimes that I
like
see
Donald Trump. It's amazing what he's been able to do.
Sometimes, well, yeah, I mean, no, not really. Listen, I know that people are going to frown upon this, but I don't give a shit what your opinion is. If you think that starting out with an alleged $10 million loan from your dad is the same as starting out from scratch, you're a fucking fool who wishes he was born to a rich daddy. That's it. Because motherfuckers that
anybody thinks that.
No, but a lot of his supporters act like that's nothing.
Oh,
like
well,
he made himself.
A lot of his supporters are very delusional about him in the first place. So I mean, that's just par for the course.
To me, I'm just like, no, man. I admire a guy like Elon Musk a lot more. I admire Richard Branson a lot more. I admire Mark Cuban a lot more. Even a fucking Mark Zuckerberg. Even him, I admire more. So I and that's fine. I mean, again. This is where I invest my time into giving certain other people my clicks, right? My mental clicks, my attention. It's okay. And that's, you know, I'm okay with everybody accepting their own thing. But speaking from like the cancer perspective that we were talking about earlier, no one shows up to the cancer ward and goes, this is against my morals and my principles. Eventually, everybody breaks.
Right.
And that's what I want people to keep a little bit more in mind. You know, all the anti-vaxxers and all that shit, you turn your ass around real quick on science if your kid gets the measles.
Sure.
All of a sudden, you are going to want the chemical.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's the same thing with...
well, and then when they don't, they get charged for child neglect, too. When they don't make that decision, that is absolutely a crime.
Yep. And there's people whose health is failing and they need to eat meat. And they hate to admit it, and they start eating meat, and they feel better. I mean, it's not, you know what I'm saying? Like that's, and we have to just be, I think, more open to it's not just like people need to be okay with allowing more nuance in their lives. But because they're so hardline in one way, they think, well, no, I got to be either black or white. Yeah. And it's like, well, no, dude, eventually the problem with being black or white is that eventually, you know what gets tested is your character. Because there's going to come a time where you're going to have to do the thing that you said you were dead set against. Are you going to choose humbly to have been wrong, or are you going to stay on your path because you're fucking, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's an individual fucking thing for everybody to deal with. But for the people that are pushy, it tends to happen in a way that's embarrassing in public, especially people that are in the public eye, right? Like Chuck Woolery. But this is what happened to you, sir.
I don't know who that is.
He's a reporter too.
Who? Chuck who?
Woolery.
I have no idea who this guy is.
I think he works with Fox News. I think I'm not 100%, but he was basically fucking denouncing all the corona and everything, and his son got sick.
Rona slaps him right back.
Mm-hmm.
Rona can be undefeated sometimes.
He's a former game show host and musician. If you Google him, he's been talking shit about the lockdowns and the corona and everything, which is it's all fun and games. So your ass gets sick, you know. So. And all the people that are, you know, we gotta end the cartels and close off the borders. Yeah. In the meantime, you're so busy making money that your son's a junkie. But because he's a junkie of fucking Oxycontin, you don't count that as being a junkie. And so, really,
no, I think there's a lot more education about opioids.
Yeah, but
maybe
I don't think it's a matter of education.
You don't think?
No. Absolutely not. The reason that the opiate crisis worked for Purdue Pharmaceutical is because you were able to pretend like it's okay because the doctor gave it to you. It's the same shit. Listen, somebody who takes Adderall doesn't like to hear that they're taking meth. It's the same, sir. It's the same fucking drug. But I'm a journalist. Excuse me, I am not a meth head. Oh, yes, you are. If you take Oxycontin, it's no different than somebody that injects heroin into their veins. Your brain sees it the same fucking way.
The difference with Adderall is there's actual people who actually benefit from it and need it, right? ADHD people.
That they claim to need it. Yeah. I mean, I don't think.
I feel like
my opinion with it is that out of all the people that I've ever met who claim to have HCAG, maybe 10% of them actually needed medication. I think it's really easy to get diagnosed with that and get given the drug.
I don't disagree. That's easy. That's definitely overdiagnosed. It's definitely overdiagnosed.
Elvis Presley, dude.
It's definitely overdiagnosed. It's unquestionably, but I do think there is.
You know how Elvis Presley became a drug addict?
No.
So Elvis Presley was like a kind of like a right-wing guy, right?
Okay.
And at some point, there's a photo of Elvis Presley being made a special agent of the Drug Enforcement Agency.
Oh, I do know. I knew that.
With Richard Nixon.
I did know that.
And he said the Oval Office.
Right.
Elvis was high as a kite.
Like a
high
rock star.
as a goddamn kite when he took that picture. But here's what Elvis did. So at some point, I believe he had an injury and he developed a taste, a flavor, if you will, for the old painkillers.
Okay.
This motherfucker got himself a medical diagnostics book. So when he went to the doctor, he could describe to the doctor the symptoms that he was having according to the drug he was trying to get. Well, it feels a little bit like this, a little bit like that. Yeah, in the morning. And then the doctor was like, oh, I know what you need. And this son of a bitch had the, yeah.
And then he said, thank you very much.
Yeah. But in the meantime, he'd tell you Jimi Hendrix was the devil because he high on PCP or whatever the fuck Jimmy was doing. You know, but yeah, man.
Jimmy was making incredible music. That's what he was doing.
Yeah, but he was high. A lot.
I pass no judgment.
I pass no judgment. Listen, I don't pass judgment on anybody, okay, that does drugs or alcohol. I pass judgment on their delusion. Sure. Don't tell me whiskey's the same as Gatorade. I'm okay with. I
would say that.
Well, that's kind of what you're saying with Adderall.
Is it?
I think so.
Interesting.
You're giving me, people give me.
Gatorade and whiskey aren't prescribed drugs, though.
No. But what I'm saying is that we can turn something that we know for a fact it's a negative thing. It's bad for your health. It's a poison. Alcohol's a poison.
Sure.
Right? So you have the free will to choose to drink some of that poison for your enjoyment, for whatever reason you do it. But you don't get to tell me that it's not poison.
Yeah, but no doctor is prescribing alcohol to people that help with a disorder.
No. But
like
what I mean is that they are prescribing something that is as destructive as alcohol, which is Adderall. Just because it's named something different than meth. It's not crystal meth and it's not ice and it's not speed. And the doctor's telling you that because the name is different, it's okay. But the chemist tells you that the compound is fucking 99% the same. The doctor doesn't have the integrity to tell you that. Just like doctors for years didn't have the integrity to tell you, oh, do you smoke pot? Well, listen, I don't think it's a good idea to smoke anything. But in the history of humanity, we have 0 documented cases of somebody dying. No doctor ever said that. Have some fucking integrity. Let people listen. People are going to choose what they're going to choose. But don't, if you're not ashamed of the definitions, you wouldn't have to manipulate the narrative. As soon as you feel a need to manipulate the narrative of that drug, of the name of that drug, of the use of that drug, you're full of fucking shit. Because morphine used to be for amputees, not for fucking, you know what I mean?
Morphine's still given out today, though.
What's that? No, I know, but it's not. They expanded the range of usages for all those drugs. Is my point, so that you could sell more of the drug.
Sure,
like for instance,
I'm not arguing that Adderall isn't
the shit that they used to give Michael Jackson for the sleepy juice, propofol,
fentanyl,
propofol.
Oh. Is it fentanyl what killed him, though?
No. It was propofol.
Oh. Okay.
Which is what they used to. So propofol is what they use to get you dizzy before they administer the actual anesthesia. So there's 2 steps, right? When you get put under surgery. Yeah. The propofol is kind of like what brings you in and out of the actual anesthesia.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when doctors found out that he was being given that at home, it was insane because no doctor had ever heard of a drug like that being administered outside of a surgical setting.
Right.
You know, and it's kind of, but it made him sleep. Well, no wonder. Now, I don't doubt the guy had been having problems with sleep his entire life. God knows what the fuck that life was like with touring and all that shit. And so at some point he found an agreeable doctor that was like, well, I mean, I know if I administer this properly, he's going to get to sleep and I get to be friends with him. And we're on a first name basis.
Until he didn't. Until he messed up, right?
It sucks, dude. It sucks. But, you know, again, if you're going to ask people to be responsible as adults and accountable so that we can reopen everything, I'm okay with that. But it has to be across the board. You know, be accountable about the fact that cigarettes are not good for you and they're gonna kill you. Be accountable about the fact that you should drink fucking 224 packs of Diet Coke per day or smoke a pack of cigarettes a day.
This is just idealistic in a way. Like this is just not gonna happen, unfortunately.
It is and it isn't, because I think that slowly people are having to face the consequences of all of that stuff. In a way, that's what Corona is doing with some people. How many young people have you seen? I didn't take the shit seriously. You know, and then
but I feel like it's because there are still young people who are still going out not taking this shit seriously.
No, I mean, and they're always going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Always going to be. Listen, there's always going to be a guy that jumps into a pretty shallow pool of water and doesn't get the spinal injury and tells you you're a pussy. Still doesn't make it a good idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, bro, I guess.
So you're not into cliff jumping?
Fuck, I'm into, yes, I am.
Okay.
But I have a very steadfast rule about it.
What's your rule?
I gotta watch some people do it first. Yeah, I gotta watch a couple of people do it first. I gotta see how far away from the edge of the water they jump, and then I'm good. Then I'll do it. I don't do it. I have a very strict policy on the cliff.
Mine is just I don't do it. That's my policy.
Well,
I don't like heights.
And it's not like there's other things I find more thrilling. You know, like I don't know. I mean, but I just don't believe in being the first one to take the risk.
Sure.
Which brings us back to the Rona.
Wear a mask.
Once they have this shit figured out, you know what I mean? Like, so I mean, hopefully gets. I don't think it's as bad already. I think, thankfully, yes, the level of infection and containment and response has been atrocious.
Sure, totally.
But
it's not as deadly as it was advertised.
The death rate was dead wrong, and thank God for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That, you know what I mean? Like, because I thought
thank all your gods, whichever god you want.
That for real. Like,
thank all of them.
Yeah. I like the dude with the arms, but that's my preference.
I know you're talking about.
Oh shit! I don't even know where that was. That's from downtown. The crystal
I was going to say I don't want to make fun of you because I also couldn't remember the name. I know it's a Hindu god.
I'm pretty sure it's Shiva. I'm pretty sure it's Shiva.
I trust you.
But
pray to your Shivas, pray to your Zeuses, your Odins.
Those first couple of weeks when they were showing the bodies coming out of the buildings in New York City, I was like, what in the fucking hell? I was fucking terrified, dude. And I'm still like concerned, you know, like I don't understand people taking something lightly that they don't know.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like that's a weird
it's very egotistical.
Is it? Yeah. It's short-sighted, you know, like but again, you know,
caveman brains.
Do you just don't cry wolf later? Don't be a little bitch later. Do you, but don't be a little bitch later. That's all I want. You little bitch. Later you're like, I didn't know. I didn't be boo-boo. Fucking pisses me off. It fucking pisses me off.
What was that?
And all these goddamn protesters. You know what I want?
Well, hold on. Can we talk about these protests? Because it's crazy. It's crazy what's going on in Portland right now in Seattle.
Dude.
Portland
I have a good friend who's a cop in Seattle, bro.
In a row of rioting. Protests during a day, but then they turn into riots as soon as the sun goes down. As soon as the sun goes down, there's violence.
Yeah. But I'm not an Alex Jones type of guy or anything. I 100% believe in agent provocateurs.
Yeah, 100%.
They're embedded into the history of our nation, and it's really easy to take advantage of that possibility in a time where people are so divided with their ideology.
Right.
You know, it's really easy to wedge your bullshittery in there and sort of sneak it in.
It's easy to spark it too, right? Because there's so much tinder, there's so much stuff ready to go into flames.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
nope.
Those places are scary. Yeah, it's scary right now.
Yeah.
But yeah. The stuff in it is funny what happened. Not funny, I guess, but ironic. In the whole Chaz thing. It's like, so now you have a border.
That shit was crazy.
So now you have a policing force.
Well, it changed its name to
now,
Chop.
So now it all collapsed. I wonder if you could have seen this.
Well, what happened to that Warlord guy? The rapper, I think his name was Raz. He was this dude.
I heard about that.
He's this dude
he
who
was like
walking
he was
around
ruling.
He had like a little posse and had some guns and just making shit happen. I have no idea what happened.
I don't know. I do think it's terrifying to see federal forces in civilian settings like that. But I also don't know.
Well, why aren't the police doing anything? Right? That's the question.
Well, the police aren't doing anything because
the mayor's telling them not to.
Because as a society, we can't accept that some people need to get their ass whooped by the police. Not every use of police force is abuse. We have to be comfortable with a certain level of use of force by the police. And right now, we're not accepting any level of use of force by the police. Because to me, when a guy's running from a cop going 110 miles an hour, you already ignored a command to stop because you were breaking the law. So you don't get to demand respect once you already put that officer in a heightened level of alert. He doesn't know if you just killed your grandmother. You know, so the fact that people think I should be entitled to step out of order a little bit, and the line at which you react violently should be way further. I should choose it? No. How about don't step over the line? Let's start there. And now when you do step over the line, hopefully we can get officers to lower the level of alertness and their hypervigilance in those situations. Sure. But as long as both people are at a hypervigilant level, they're going to fucking collide in a shitty way.
Right. I don't see how we de-escalate. Kanye wins the presidency? No, I'm just kidding.
Listen, dude, I was going to eat crow next week about this episode based on Kanye, but his situation evolved so fast.
Do we want to talk? Can we give the Kanye update? Bro, I'm not sure I've ever been more a fan of Kanye in my life in these last 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Well, I have. That's why I know about his mama and all the other things. I've been a Kanye a fan of. Listen, anytime somebody's that egotistical, whilst being that flawed in public,
sure,
you're dealing with a crazy person.
Creative genius, one could argue.
Well, I mean. There's been times where he acts like The Rock, you know? And it's like when you see a guy like The Rock and everything you see about The Rock is positive. Right. I don't know anything else.
Well, it's perfectly crafted.
Yes.
He's a professional wrestler.
But it couldn't work if it was the exact opposite.
Sure, totally.
Is it probably exaggerated and presented and packaged in a perfect way because of all the corporate partnerships that he has?
Absolutely.
Sure thing, you know. But
the core,
but I'm not hearing some fucking whore out of Miami saying that he railed her and did lines of coke off her chest. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, I can read between the lines that obviously it's not 100%, but also you cannot look like that and not work your ass off just for the physique alone.
Sure.
You cannot, I don't care if he does steroids, anything he does, you cannot look like that. But yeah, man.
President Kanye. Well, and did you see what he was tweeting about the other day?
Yeah, man. The movie Get Out is about me.
I haven't seen that movie.
Oh, it's a good movie.
Right.
I don't like subversive racial shit.
Gotcha.
You know, I don't enjoy it. I'm Mexican. I don't enjoy it for fucking Mexicans. I don't enjoy it from any race. The reality is that.
Well, hold on. How's it? Explain to me how it's about Kanye. Can you explain that to me?
Okay, so the movie Get Out is about this guy that dates a white chick.
Okay,
right, and it starts out really nice, and he's a really nice. It's a black dude that's dating this white chick, and then she invites him to the country for like a weekend or whatever. And then while he's in the country or whatever, he realizes that her family that they've been he's the only black guy there.
Okay.
Right. And then they're giving him some kind of a drug to turn him into like some sort of like a slave, but it's not a slave like in the regular sense. It's like the other black people he saw there were like married to one of the white people and they were acting super Stepfordy.
Sure. Gotcha.
So it was like a brainwashing.
So Kanye, so what Kanye is saying
about the subtext of
right. So what Kanye is saying,
shit,
sure. So what Kanye is saying, the Kardashians has done that to him.
Yes.
This is an incredible thing.
Well, and he also said that he
wanted a divorce.
He wanted a divorce.
She cheated on him with Meek Mill.
Yeah.
That was incredible. Did you watch any of the campaign rally?
No, I couldn't. By then I had already read so much that I was like, I can't. That's the thing that happens is that first, because I have I'm not crazy about rap music to begin with, right?
He's a gospel singer now.
I've never understood the
Gospel
Kanye
music.
shit because it sounds like stupid mumbling shit to me. I don't get it.
makes
I don't
gospel music
understand
now.
the shoes. I don't understand the fucking fashion. I don't understand Kim Kardashian being a fucking sex symbol when she's a fat Photoshop person. Like when I was growing up, a beautiful woman. Let me tell you how beautiful the women were when I was growing up that we admired. They're in their 60s and they're still fucking getting likes of bathing suit photos on Instagram. That's how good looking the women were. Not cellulite ridden bitches that are stuffed into yoga pants to compress everything in place. That's what these bitches have done, dude. I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck. I have nothing to
I would
lose.
like to announce to you right now, our Spotify listenership is 86% female, and we can expect that to go to 0 after this.
Yeah, I expect that, especially after what I just said. And let me tell them something before they leave the show. I know you're wearing your pants the way I just described, and that's why you're leaving.
How dare you? That's probably like people we know.
Listen,
It's probably your wife and my lady friend.
1% of the people wearing yoga pants do actually yoga out there. This lazy. Imagine. Okay, imagine if men took to wearing tights like that. Okay, now this is not
assault.
This is not
Sexual
exactly.
harassment.
This is not guys that look like Chris Hemsworth. We're talking about a bunch of dudes like. They look like Louis C.K. and Jack Black wearing spandexes at Walmart with their shitty bulges in front, right in your face, not giving a fuck.
Carlos, you didn't tell me you started watching wrestling.
But at least those gentlemen have the respect to do some steroids and some curls. I'm talking about a loose bowling pin looking American who's a man wearing tights, and now I want them
real Homer
multiplied.
Simpson.
Like what if a 19-year-old girl, all right, because this is what a 19-year-old boy is dealing with. Everywhere a 19-year-old boy goes to, it's women of every sort of look and shape wearing fucking yoga pants. In the words of Joey Diaz, they got the monkey all out. The majority of them should not be wearing that shit, and it's perpetuating a lie because they look in the mirror like, oh, it's not that bad because you stuffed it into the compression. It's not that bad. And what size are those? So it's not that good either. You know what I'm saying? Like, I rest my case, Your Honor.
Let's go back talking about Kanye. I don't want to co-sign on your body shaming of people.
I'm not body shaming anybody,
Yes.
dude. Listen,
Hold on, time out.
if the extra large yoga pant fits, that's
Listen, you're fitting into an extra large pair of body shaming pants right now. That's what you're doing.
I'm not body shaming anybody. I just don't think you should be so body proud if you're the only one who thinks it's something to be proud about. Yeah. That's all. Like, I don't.
People are allowed to have their own delusions.
Yeah, no, for sure. I never walked around the store feeling like I'm 6'5" because I'm not.
Maybe if you believe hard enough, it'll come through.
That's fine.
Maybe if you believe hard enough, it'll come through.
No, well, no, it won't. It won't, though.
Might, though.
But
It might.
no,
You
it
don't know.
won't. It
might.
never will. It never
might,
will.
though.
Not unless I step on a fucking brick or 4. It ain't gonna happen.
On some stilts.
It's not gonna happen. But anyway,
So
so I've been a fan.
Hold on,
But
time out,
3
though.
days into it, I can't watch it no more because it escalated so crazily. It spiraled so fast that I went from like curious, morbid curiosity is actually the best way.
I think
to
that's a lot of
describe
people with it.
Morbid curiosity to like, this person is really in the middle of a serious thing, man, and this is not.
I mean, so he had a doctor clear him last Monday. He had a doctor clear Monday morning.
Yeah, but the science on bipolar disease is so ambiguous that I mean, I could have you declare bipolar by Tuesday.
Right, he's posting. I mean, sure, but like, right, he's posting pictures with people that seem to be out there caring for him. Right, Dave Chappelle.
But
Justin Bieber.
But see,
all people who have been ruined, who have gone through a horrible Hollywood experience, by the way.
Yes, but I think that it's part of my criticism in that part of that part of the scope with Kanye is I think that he's such a worldwide influential figure.
Sure,
it's like Kanye is the Black Trump.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Here's a dum-dum He does have a lot of money, right? And he did do it on his own. So
he does seem to be a creative force, right? He's developing a film right now.
The movement,
album,
yeah, that's the thing. The black movement cannot afford to have Kanye and not be perfect in Kanye. So they're
I disagree with this. I disagree with this. I feel like there are a lot of black people who don't support Kanye right now.
Yeah, not really. It's kind of like this. How many of the BLM associated?
I think a lot of people have no interest in it.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
How many of the BLM associated high-profile figures have spoken out against Drake for his penchant of underage flirting?
Sure.
None. Why? Because they are curating. They do protect certain people, and that's what I meant a couple of weeks ago when I said, start with your own fucking community. Call it out then.
What Terry Crews was saying. Terry Crews was saying that.
And he got chastised.
He did. Which is so. I mean, hold on, we're about to get interrupted.
But yeah, that's what I mean. It's call it out on your own. Listen, of course we should talk about Clinton and about Giselle Maxwell, and about
Ghislaine.
And about Epstein.
Well, did you see what Trump said about Ghislaine?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know anything about the situation, but I wish her well. I don't know anything about Prince Andrew.
That's like saying
5 years ago.
Like saying, well, I never met Scott Peterson, but I wish him well. Dude, he killed his pregnant wife and threw her overboard. What? You wish him well? Like that's my perspective is that that's bullshit and that's transparent and it's fucking weak. It's fucking weak. Why is it that no one's Me Tooing Drake and it has Me Too'd him? Why not?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, that's but on the other side of the aisle, we are much quicker to point the fingers. And so my perspective personally is I think that all those high profile figures, right? Dave Chappelle, and they have to rally around Kanye because the Black people have come a long, long, long way in acquiring positions of power and wealth and entrepreneurial achievement, right? To the point that you have your Russell Simmons out there and you have big deal business people in all facets of media, really, you know?
Well, I mean, Kanye's kind of like calling this out, right? Like talking about how there's not enough Black people on boards, right? Calling for himself to be put on the board of Adidas and Gap, for example.
Well, yeah, but that's
I mean, self-interested, but
but that also starts with
he made the comparison on Twitter of what happens when you search Halle Berry versus I think Jennifer Aniston or maybe Gwyneth Paltrow or some white lady, and how for Halle Bailey their search results are controversies that she's had in the past, where with Gwyneth Paltrow or whoever the white lady was, I don't remember, it's how they're an Academy Award-winning actress.
Yeah, well, I've never made that. I mean, I believe it. I guess I never paid attention to it.
Yeah, I never thought about it either until I saw Kanye's tweet, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting comparison to make.
Right, but see, the thing is that to me, like some of those arguments would be better served by, let's say, Eddie Murphy, just to pick an example. If Eddie Murphy came out and said, for the last 20 years, I sent 300 African Americans to business school.
Sure.
Not a single one of them's a CEO. Now I'll pay attention. But there are requirements for a job. If you want to be a judge, there's certain requirements. You can't just up and go from rapper to judge. Like, how come there's no Black judges? Like, no, well, there's a path. Like, it's kind of like the wage gap, right? Where it's been shown in many studies that women just don't go to certain professions as much. So even though there is definitely a wage gap, I'm not saying that there isn't. Right. There's other factors that play into those decisions, such as going into social work or education or some of the other professions that females go into. But if you have two neurosurgeons, their salaries are very likely to be equivalent, male and female, according on their experience and their prestige and all that, you know? So I kind of think that, yes, it's true. We need more, but that's also, you need to foster the desire to be in those positions within your community more for that to happen too. It's not just going to happen because somebody's going to go into a disenfranchised side of town and go, we're going to pick you. Well, no, you have to be somewhere lifting your hand up, right? And in order to be somewhere lifting your hand up, like if you want to be a politician, right? There's a path to go there. If I decided I want to be mayor, which I have every right as an American to do, right? I could run for office.
Certain offices you could.
Right, exactly. But an informed American should see that there's nothing in my background that merits me getting a bug up my ass all of a sudden to run for fucking office. Like that's what yes, but they make it so, it's so baity to me. from a polarizing standpoint of view, that I can't have certain views that are mediating of that thought without being seen as an apologist or without being seen as a dismisser.
Sure.
You know? And that's and it's gone beyond race to a certain extent. You know, I like one of the biggest things that have affected me as far as like all the social movement shit was the Trayvon Martin thing. You know, that should, like, it bothered me because,
well, I mean, kind of,
it was such a fucking heartbreaking thing. And I find George Zimmerman to be one of the most abhorrent public figures of my lifetime.
Sure.
Like I find him to be here's a failure of a guy, right? Failed at everything. The only thing that made him feel power is a gun, which anybody can have, right? And which is good because it's all right, it's embedded into the culture of this country and everything.
And there's a lot of defense for people.
But it's also not good when you're using it so that you can fulfill your ultimate desire of not being a little bitch. Here's a 16-year-old who, listen, if I see a kid that looks like he doesn't belong in my neighborhood, well, I put cameras up already in my house. I keep an eye on him. I don't go out there and question him. What the fuck are you doing here? No, how do I know that he ain't just moving? I don't. That's part of being in society.
Yeah.
You know, but by that same token, if as a man, if I did approach him and he kicks my ass, I should reevaluate myself.
Sure.
First of all, a 16-year-old just kicked your ass. That should be embarrassing enough for you to reevaluate. Oh, no. Yes. I'm going to teach you a lesson with the only way I can beat your 16-year-old ass is with my gun. Like a bitch. And the craziest thing about that whole case, what the fuck is a white Hispanic? That's how they described him in the media.
Hello.
So basically,
hold on, time out. I'm a white Hispanic.
So, but you know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden, so basically we're saying anybody except black people can be white or treated as white or perceived as white. You know what I mean? Like, it seems so fucking gross. It's like, that dude's not white. That dude's Mexican. You know? But all of a sudden, he's a white Hispanic. And for him to identify himself as a white person, what the fuck kind of self-hatred are you dealing with, man? Like, you are who you are.
Right, yeah.
Your heritage is what your heritage is, dude. Like, I'm not fucking Swedish because tomorrow morning I wake up and I decided that I'm going to be a fucking Swede. I'm going to be a fucking Swede. You know, right. Like, it seems so fucking odd, but it plays along with narrative that is more divisive and it helps. You know, now all of a sudden it was another white dude killing another, another black person. And you know, you can't subdue a 16-year-old. You could have just followed him and called the cops. Yeah. Any number of things. Well, and by the way,
right, it's also really similar to the Ahmaud Arbery case, where the two white, one of them a former police officer, feel the need to carry out vigilante justice over what they perceive to be a black person not even breaking in, but trespassing on a property.
Is this a kid that was jogging?
Yes.
Yes, but they did have footage of him trespassing at 1 a.m. at properties in that neighborhood. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but you're not the police, though.
No.
You don't chase them down and engage them in a fight when you have guns.
I agree with that. But he's also not an innocent bystander where there was no reason for them to have those suspicions.
Right, but there's no reason for them to act on those suspicions, though.
I agree with that.
They're allowed to have their suspicions.
I agree with that. But what I say to that is, you mess with the fucking bulls, you get the horns. Now we have to be very clear.
Okay, but it wasn't even their property, though.
No, but it's their neighborhood. It was. Listen, I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying that it's not a fucking surprise. You know, like. But
it is a tragedy.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It's definitely a tragedy. 100%. 100%. You know, like that's undeniable. I just don't like the part where we immediately make people out to be saints that weren't saints to begin with. I mean, everybody forgets Rodney King was high on PCP when he got into the police chase with the cops, and he was a multiple-time felon. What happened after that was wrong, but the cops are taught to profile you, right? And when you have a history, like if they run your name and they're following you in a car, right? They see your license plate number. And they run your name, they're going to find nothing that makes them think you're a piece of shit. You could be a fresh piece of shit.
Sure.
Like, you
But, like,
just
right,
got some
also,
piece of
but
shit
like
done.
also like right there are environmental factors that cause people to have records, unquestionably, right?
Yes, but when a cop runs your plates, they know what the record is.
Sure.
If you're a shoplifter, or if you're a domestic abuser, or if you're a bank, or if you committed assault with a deadly weapon one time, even if it was a family reunion where you got a little too drunk and threatened your uncle with a gun, that's already on the record.
I mean, right? The in the Ahmaud Arbery case, these people didn't have access to any of this.
No, they didn't, but they did know about him breaking into places, and they did have the ring camera footage. So they were wrong in acting, but they were right that something was weird about that guy in their neighborhood. That's all I'm saying. You know, I don't think that they have any right to do anything, but why not go to the cops? Again, the same thing that I was criticizing the protesters, right? Why aren't these people, okay, so this is the case. I'm not going to be viewed as a racist, right? So you know what we're going to do? I'm going to follow you. I'm going to put it on the phone. I'm going to get pictures, and I'm going to make a Facebook page that shows why I was following you. Hey, I want everybody's opinion. Here's this young man. He doesn't nobody in our neighborhood knows that he lives here. He's running around here. I have footage from a ring cam from an abandoned property from 3 days ago. Now, I don't want to be a judging person, but what would you do if this was your neighborhood? I asked for the cops' help. Get creative.
Sure.
Don't go and fucking attempt to lynch him, you know? But why can't you get creative too? And you know what I mean? Like there's other ways that this stuff can be handled, but people are just reacting so fucking quickly, and they haven't worked for 6 months now, some of them, and guns are everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, gun purchases and surge throughout all of this.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing, kind of like what I was saying with the cops. Like, I get it. We are very clear on what excessive force is.
Yeah.
Right? I want a woke group to give me their idea of what appropriate use of force is. I want them out of their mouths with their fucking lips to say, okay, this is clear as day abuse of power, right? Sure. What is proper use of power? And give me some scenarios.
I don't know if you saw there were like 8 policies floating around on Instagram about police reform. And one of them was a strict standard of use of force policy, which is enacted in several states. The issue with it, right, is the ability to follow a standard set policy of escalation of force and whatnot becomes very difficult in the moment.
Yes, because the reform has to be comprehensive. Right. The cops need to be better trained. Cops should be in much better shape. Cops should be proficient in hand-to-hand self-defense and subduance. That it does not rely on all of the gear that they have attached to them. You know,
if they were able to raise the standards to the point where they had to be in shape, that would cut police forces so dramatically in half. That would probably solve maybe not all the problems, but I think it would probably be a big help.
Yep. And there's a lot of George Zimmermans that do leak into the police department.
Well, no, and the FBI has done several reports on how white supremacy groups have been able to infiltrate police.
Yeah.
That's
and military, and
of course,
everything.
I mean, unfortunately, right?
Yeah, but again, if you raise the standard, right, the excellent standard to get the job, you're gonna get less scumbags, because a person that's worked their ass off at jiu-jitsu, it's a lot less likely to belong to a group like that. I'm sorry, but those hate groups, all of them, are full of losers. They're full of fucking losers.
Unquestionably. You know? There's Eastern European hate group losers that are devoted to MMA. I don't know. There's I know a specific example I'm thinking of. I can't remember the name. I think they're probably Russian, but they're specifically a hate group where their prime focus is training their members in MMA, which is very interesting, kind of scary, but. I'm just pointing as an example against what you're saying. But
I'd rather that training than Al Qaeda training with the fucking thingies and the guns.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I mean, that's the thing about it, is that we're allowing, there's a lot of cops that do make it there who it wasn't their first choice of job. They settle for it, or somebody in their family can help them out.
Yeah.
And you cannot give a gun to a coward. Maybe for self-defense, but you shouldn't give a gun to a coward ever.
How do you measure that? How do you, do the gun stores give you a cowardcy test?
No, they don't. Unfortunately, they don't.
But how would they though? How would you?
I think the psychological evaluation for police officers needs to be more in depth.
I don't know what they go through, but I would assume so. Probably, yeah, based on the
just based on the officers that we've seen commit the acts that we have committed. That person slipped through several cracks, and also the review board cannot be encompassed of your own fucking force.
I mean, police
that's
unions
ridiculous.
And their ability to just negotiate deals with cities are just. I mean, that's really where the corruptness is most prevalent and most apparent. Not prevalent, but apparent. Yeah.
I mean, I one time I filed a complaint against a police officer my entire life.
Sure.
Pulled me over for bullshit. Couldn't give me a ticket. And try to bring up a DUI that I had when I was underage, saying that he could have arrested me if he wanted to, because he knew about that DUI. That was how far back he had to dig. I'm 40 almost. He had to dig.
Was this recently?
That was a year and a half ago.
Oh my God. Okay. So yeah, I mean, he had to dig nearly 15, 20 years.
He had to dig over 20 years back to something that I resolved. It's not a warrant or anything, but that's because he pulled me over. He took a shot. And I'm a very orderly person. I had everything in order. He couldn't do shit and so his way to be able to satisfy his ego was to lecture me on how he could have done something worse and he wasn't going to. So I called and I filed a report. And they called me back about a week later. And the guy goes, well, I just want to let you know, with a shitty attitude. And he's like, well, I just want to let you know that I reviewed the case and there's absolutely nothing to follow up on. And I was like, okay, well, I was pulled over for no reason. And
did you end up a ticket?
What's that? No, I didn't get a ticket. I didn't, because he couldn't even write me the ticket. That's the whole point.
Wow.
Right. And what I thought, and this is where my whole theory comes, is like, if at that point he takes me in, I need to shut up, because I'm not going to give that piece of shit a reason to beat my ass. I'm going to go to jail.
Yeah.
Make peace with it. Yeah. I made peace. I might go to jail. But after I go to jail and I get out and I talk to an attorney and the whole ordeal happens, he's going to be embarrassed.
Sure.
And that's what I want. No one wants to be embarrassed at their job. You want to piss somebody off? Call their boss. Call their boss and see how they feel. Absolutely. Nobody wants to get back to the police station and go, hey, motherfucker, somebody called about you. What, are you having a bad day? And that was my only goal. When internal affairs call me, I said, and he gave me his little bullshit. I was like, I just have one question. He's like, what's that? Is there a report for this incident that I called to report? Then he goes, yeah, we lock all of them. I was like, well, that was my only goal. I didn't expect you guys to reprimand each other, obviously. But if something ever does happen again, I want to make sure that this is recorded, because this is going to happen again with somebody else. And that's my opinion, is that's how you fight back. If we do more along those lines, you can get better results.
Right. It's just unfortunate. A lot of people don't have the resources or the time to do something like that, right?
Well, I think a lot of people are once you're indignant, you look for instant gratification quicker.
Sure. Yeah.
I think they have the resources.
Well, maybe mental resources.
Yes, the mental resources. There you go. Yeah.
But like also, right, like if you don't, and like, right, like if you don't have the money to be able to post bail, for example, or right, say you do have a DUI outstanding or something, right? You know you're going to be going to jail for a long time. It's hard to almost have that sense of clarity in the moment. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, but if you did have a DUI with a warrant, you shouldn't have been fucking driving.
Yeah, you're probably right.
You know,
that doesn't mean it doesn't happen, though.
Have some goddamn accountability.
And we are back. And before we get into this whole MMA and bare knuckle boxing, what are you drinking, senor?
I picked up a little bit of the Dogfish. I'm old, so
the 60-minute IPA. That is a old classic.
Yeah. By the way, Dogfish, we're sponsorships.
If we're gonna get a beer sponsorship, it's gonna be a local brewery.
If we're gonna get a beer sponsorship, as long as it's not like a shitty beer,
really anybody, right?
Send what you want.
Yeah, you're right.
We'll drink it.
At Astronomy Works, at Mojave Brewery, at Love Lady, at Craft House, at Bad Bee, at
I heard the shitty one closed, the ammonia one.
Joseph James, yeah. Well, there's some beers of Joseph James.
Again, that's like the macaroni grill. Just because you can brew beer doesn't mean you should.
They have some good beers. Their Citra Rye IPA was pretty good. I like their IPA.
Bro, I returned that shit. That was
You returned it?
It's the only time in my life I've returned beer. I was at the driving range and I got a bucket of 6 of them, and I opened one. It was an IPA from them.
So it was Citra Rye.
It was white with green letter.
Yeah, that's Citra Rye.
I took a sip of it and it tasted like ammonia, and I was like, "What the?"
So it sounds like you got a bad batch.
Well, it was at the driving range. So
bottles, cans.
So
when a batch goes bad, IPA specifically, they taste like ammonia. So I don't think that's on them.
Well, I remember at the time I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
What
And then
golf
I had
range was it at?
my it was at the driving range across from Whole Foods, the one by the airport.
Was that recently?
No, this is like
okay.
4 years ago.
Because I mean, even 4 years ago, that place is kind of a dump.
It still is.
I mean, it's been a dump for like the last 5 years. So
Well, it's a driving range, and also that course, because it's supposed to be like a par
three course,
dude. It's all turf.
Is it really? Did they change? It used to be grass.
I don't think there's any grass left, dude. It's essentially a fucking concrete carpeted. I mean, you cannot stop a ball there. It's unbelievable. But
yeah, listen, nobody cares about this.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about the call. So MMA, where do you want to start? Because I'll just let you know right now, I didn't watch Bare Knuckle. I didn't watch Bellator.
I'll just go over it real quick.
Yeah,
because I think I'm a junkie of fighting. I will watch.
Well, Bare Knuckle had like only 2 fights were in knockouts, right?
Yes,
something like that.
Yes, but here's the thing: is that I believe that bare knuckle fighting is going to become bigger than boxing.
Really, you think?
I think it's a new sport. First of all, the guy already survived way longer than I anticipated he was going to survive. He's a brash. I don't know if you guys remember, but that guy made headlines last year because at some point he said that he expected guys to fight or that he would hold the purse.
Oh, I do remember this.
Bitch,
yeah.
Which is a very controversial thing to do. Obviously, he's a dummy. He does take pages out of Dana's book in his bravado.
Sure.
You know, which I guess promoter got to do promoter shit.
And like, why wouldn't you, right? Dana White has to be one of the most successful promoters of all time, right?
You have to.
Gotta give him
of
respect.
course. And Dana White's got a little Don King in him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's all together. But what I like about it is that it's so. For those of you that don't know, bare knuckle fighting is
exactly what it's called.
Is what it sounds like, except that it's just boxing. There's no kicks. There's no takedowns, and it's like
hand wraps.
No wrist wraps. Nothing over the knuckle.
Oh,
yeah, but that's a cool thing about it is that, for instance, just to give you a little bit of context, Paulie Malignaggi, who was a world champion boxer, he lost because he broke his hand right away. You cannot swing the way you swing with a full fucking wrapped up hand and a big glove. That's giving you.
Do you know what that tells me? He didn't spar one time bare knuckle.
I don't think they can spar. I think you hit focus mitts. I think you work on your boxing, but you can't be sparring with bare knuckle. No, that's what's cool about it is that until you're there, you don't know what you're dealing with, and the game plan has not developed fully in that sport. These guys are still figuring it out because they come out and try to develop a game plan in a situation where it's fight or flight. I feel like these guys are so much more alert. You know, because the whole context of it is so much more just inflammatory. You know, like it seems so much more intense. Yeah. And they have a circular ring, which is awesome.
Why? Why did you think that's
awesome? I don't know why it looks so fucking cool. You know what I think? I think because the cameraman can move around in a circle and you never get a sharp angle because you're never at an angle. You know, so his product looks so fucking good, man. My wife and I were watching, and I don't know any of the guys, but they're fucking good, dude. I mean, there's something about it that is just so compelling. The footwork's different. Like, it's different than boxing. It's different than MMA. It's different than kickboxing.
Totally.
So I find it fucking awesome. So
why
I
do you think this can be more popular?
And because he's paying well, and he just signed a deal with the Zone.
Well, how well can you be paying?
I mean, more than the UFC.
But more than boxers?
Not more than boxers, but he's paying. I know Chris Lieben made decent money. He retired. Jason Knight is one of their stars. He's a UFC vet. He's the guy that fought Artem, actually.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like it. I enjoy it. Watched a little bit of highlights of Bellator. I didn't commit to the full Bellator card. I know Aaron Pico came back on the winning column, which is great. And I think overall it's just good that Bellator can reboot again. You're not going to come out with a barn burner right away. I know Matt Mitrione's coming up, and I always enjoy watching Matt Mitrione fight, especially in this era where heavyweights is such light pickings across the board.
Right, totally.
You know, the heavyweight landscape in MMA is fucking weak right now.
Well, I mean, when you have guys like Tanner Bosner who are barely making the weight limit, undersized, under height, but
which also brings us to our next point, right? Which it has to be one of the fights, and I'm going to jump right in. Gustafsson. How about a little workout? Have you fat? Not you
Verdum fatter.
Listen, Verdum has earned his fat, you fuck.
Oh my God.
That's a world champion. Verdum is a world
You're not wrong. He is a world champion.
Gustafsson is not. And guess what? You show up fat, like you only went to heavyweight so that you could get paid without putting in the work. And thank you for letting us know that now it's never going to happen between you and John Jones at heavyweight, because there's no
Seriously,
there's nothing to see after that. Yeah. And fucking Fabricio, you know what, man? Fabricio got a raw deal. Fabricio got retaliated against for USADA's bullshit, right? Fabricio may or may not have been fucking dirty, but the reality is the way USADA does business is unethical as fuck.
It's awful.
And because Verdum doesn't like USADA, they basically retaliated against him and took away a really good commentating gig. He was killing it in the Spanish sector. In Spanish.
Not even in Brazil. I thought it was in Portuguese.
No,
I thought it was Brazil.
He's full fluent in Spanish. He's an asset. That man's an asset. You're talking about a heavyweight champion of the world.
He's a free agent. He a free agent.
Now he is. And guess what? He gets to
Fedor.
walk away from the UFC my favorite way. This way. When they go, oh yeah, well, that was my last fight. This was going to be, you wanted him to win so that the options were open. Right. Now you go right back to the drawing board, made your boy look like shit, didn't get hurt. I'm 42 years old, and I'm going to make some money in Japan.
He can go fight Fedor. He can fight Rampage. Or how about Verdum versus Ryan Bader in Bellator, sir? For the belt, for the
I was going to say, he can go to Bellator, and there's more fun fights there, because you can fight Barnett. Fedor, Chael, motherfucking Rampage. You got the champ, Mitrione. There's 6 fights right there already. I'll watch every single last one of those.
110%. Yeah, absolutely.
So I dig that. I think it's cool. I think it's cool when somebody comes out on top in that way. It reminds me a little bit of the Dan Henderson thing. I know a lot of you guys are younger, but Dan Henderson did the same thing. Dan Henderson was owed a rematch with, a title with Rampage, and they had a contract dispute. So Dan Henderson went to Strikeforce, became their fucking champion. He had already been the champion for Pride. Then Dan Henderson comes back and murks Bisping. Then he retired.
Dan Henderson is a fucking...
It's gangster.
Well, he didn't murk Bisping the second fight. Bisping won.
What's the fight where the logo came out of?
That was the first fight against Hendo and Bisping.
That's the only one that counts, bro, because he didn't finish it.
But Bisping still won. Wasn't that his one title defense too? Bisping's? Or was it before he won the belt?
I don't think it was a title match.
Okay, so it was before he won the belt. But I mean, that was the fight Hendo retired off of, was a loss to Mike Bisping.
Yeah, but it was a decision.
Okay, but
I mean, the reality is that when you get murked the way Hendo murked
and
Bisping...
hold on, time out though. Mike Bisping is significantly a career after more than Dan Henderson, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think it affected him in that way, because
minus the eye.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that wasn't Hendo's fault though. Probably.
No, that was a Vitor fight.
Yeah, but
that
probably though. I mean,
didn't help.
Did not help.
Definitely did not help. And Hendo did fly through the air.
That logo is incredible. I'll put it on the screen.
That punch was incredible.
I'll put the highlight too now.
That last punch. Plus, also,
it's a fury of all of America.
He didn't play the bullshit game afterwards. Like, oh well, I was wrapped up in the moment.
He pulled the Jorge Masvidal.
No.
It was super necessary.
Yep.
It was super necessary.
Yeah. He invented super necessary. He just didn't put it a name to the super necessary.
Let's go back to the current cards, because there were a lot of good fights. I mean, there were a lot of fights in general.
Well, I mean, what I like about this last card is that we got to see, this has been a showcasing time for new talent.
Tanner Bosner looked impressive. Big Tom Aspinall.
A lot of new talent, and it's very smart from the UFC, because when you have more of a worldwide roster, you don't have to cater to the American fighters' complaints as much.
Sure. Well, can we talk about this international fighter, Kazmat Chimaev?
That's the gentleman that fought 2 weeks ago?
And he wants to fight on the August 10th card again.
Here, in Vegas. Yeah, good for him.
Well, and he's a beast.
Yeah.
He landed nearly 40 plus, or more, not nearly, more than 40 strikes on his opponent. Yeah. And his opponent's landed 0 Ryan McKee, unfortunately. And kid was super tough. Tough Irish kid, had no quit in him, but just had nothing for the other guy. Just couldn't get him off him.
Yeah, I think this has been cool, because I feel that this is the most aggressive newcomer recruiting the UFC's ever allowed.
Sure.
And that's cool, because it's good. You got to have new talent. And they're expanding what Dana wanted, which is by bringing all these fighters from all over the world, you are expanding the brand into a more global representation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I believe that this sport can be bigger than boxer for that, than soccer for that reason.
Totally.
Every corner of the world has at least one fucking tribe who's their warriors.
Yep.
Fighting is 100% universal.
It's in our DNA.
It's universal.
Right? I mean, right. If sport is a competition to see who's best, right, then fighting is the truest sport there is, because there's nothing better than saying, I'm stronger, I'm faster than you, I can beat you up.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy.
For me, that's why I love MMA, and I know that's tapping into the caveman brain.
I mean,
but that's part of it.
But it's true though. I mean, like,
and like this, I'm coming from someone that loves football, that loves hockey, but they don't get me go. They don't make me feel the way fighting does.
Yeah, no. There's something primal about that shit.
Yes. The other fight I want to mention that was on the other card, Francisco Trinidado doing the damn thing at 42.
Yeah.
Did you see Dan Hardy yelling at Herb Dean after the fight?
I read about it.
The picture is great. I'll put the
picture's great.
The picture is fantastic.
Dan Hardy knows his shit.
Herb Dean seems in the last couple of years I feel like 5 years ago, Herb Dean had no questionable calls. In the last 5 years, there's been some questionable Herb Dean calls. And I'm saying this with the admission that I can never be a ref. It seems like such a difficult, hard job to do. I don't know how to fix, reffing, judging. I don't know how to fix any of that shit in MMA. I think it's so hard to fix. Definitely needs fixes though.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that it's an occupational hazard to have a ref stop your fight early or stop it late.
Yeah.
And
there's such a small margin of error.
We just have to accept that.
Well, and like, right, in other sports, right, in baseball, in basketball. No, hold on, let me finish. Hold on, can I make my point? So, right, in baseball and basketball, in football, there's so many more opportunities to perform and to play your sport. So the margin of human error is kind of negated by that virtue, right? And specifically with baseball, right? I'm thinking with NBA, because there's 82 games, baseball is so many games. MMA, right? These guys maybe only have 5 fights truly in their prime to make a difference in their career, where if a ref messes up one of those fights, that's it. Whereas in like the NBA, if they mess up one game out of 82, it's not insignificant.
But let me hit you with this.
Sure.
In a way, as a sport, we need to stop being such little bitches about it. And this is why.
Yeah, elaborate, please.
Okay. So if you do a big air competition in skateboarding, when the trick goes awry in midair, no one can stop it. There's other sports where no one can step in and keep you from ultimate punishment with worse consequences. You know, so just accept that you walk in there. Part of the risk you're taking is taking an ass whooping for too long or having it stop before that. Because there's some other sports that make less money, have less glory, and the guys are doing it for just as much passion.
So but that doesn't mean
way more ultimate consequences that are immediate.
Sure, but that doesn't mean you don't advocate for the sport to become better.
Yeah, but I don't see what way you can do it to fix it, because if you
add a ref on the outside with a virtual reality or almost like a VAR type thing that they do in soccer, where they can communicate with each other, where they have better angles. That's one innovation that I think would significantly benefit.
That's not a bad idea. So like an out of the cage ref, that could be like, you're slipping, I'm stopping this fucking fight, and throws a towel in.
Right, exactly.
And it's not a part of any corner.
Sure.
I like that. That's a good idea.
And not only that, but there should be maybe 2 more judges, right? So it bumps up to 5, and maybe those 2 judges aren't cage size. Maybe they're up in a booth.
Yeah, but that's a separate thing. I like the idea of 2 refs, right? And then the judging is separate. But I like the idea of 2 refs because maybe you don't know what that ref is in there with the energy of the fight,
right? Totally,
and everything else. But if let's say, for argument's sake, Dane Hardy was that judge,
right?
Now you can do something. You know what? No, this is too much. Right? You're tripping.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't fix early stoppages.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
But we don't care as much about early stoppages because that's not on an early stoppage. You're not risking the guy's health. On a late stoppage, you are. Yeah. So maybe
that's why that's a difference. That's an acceptable difference,
right?
For the health.
So that's a good roadmap. I like that. I could get with that.
Well, here, let's continue fighting because we didn't even talk about the co-main event, right? The fight of Pride Never Dies, baby. Dude. Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira, also known as Little Nog, versus Mauricio Shogun Rua.
I watched that fight this morning. What a beautiful fight.
Yes.
That was everything.
Totally agree.
Everything you wanted to see. That's like if you went to go see an old band in concert.
and they
a little fat, and they don't look so rock gaudy anymore, but they kill the fucking
a real Axl Rose.
Oh, man, it was good. It was awesome. It was beautiful. I mean, they hit each other so fucking hard, dude. They went down, and I gotta give a special mention to Little Nog because
not R.I.P. but happy retirement.
He clearly doesn't give a fuck about anything. How could you have that much hair loss and yet still rock the bangs?
Yeah, dude.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it. You're already not a great looking man. No offense, but you're not. In that fucking hair, it looks like somebody. It looks like if I went into a hair salon and somebody grabbed the hair that's on the ground and glued it on top of my bald head, but you can still clearly see that it's a bald head. That's what his hair looks like.
Stupid. You are stupid.
Yeah, but you're not right.
You're stupid. You're a stupid individual. I love you, but you're a stupid individual.
That's what it looked like to me. I was like, man, that's the weirdest wig hair job I've ever seen in my life. It's like, oh, don't worry, I have a way we can disguise you. Here, let's glue some fucking chunks. But what a good fight, man. It was a beautiful, beautiful fight. And then,
do you agree? Shogun?
I did. 100%. Yeah. Yep. No, it was great. It was, I think it was, in fact, I'll say this. It was the least boring Little Nog fight I've ever watched.
Wow. Okay. Sure.
Little Nog's usually a boring fighter.
Sure.
Which is why he's not Big Nog. He's Little Nog. I mean, he's a legend, but he did ride on the coattails of, there's a little bit of a family nepotism that went on in that situation, you know?
It is interesting how, like, right, with the Nogueira brothers, with the Diaz brothers, just by virtue of two brothers being in the UFC, there's almost like a little added oomph to the name. Just by
but I would say that the Diaz brothers way surpassed it because Nate became his own man in a major way. Little Nog was never...
Totally. There's a huge difference.
He never reached his own stature.
Yeah.
You know?
And then, I mean, let's move right on along to that main event. Robert Bobby Knuckles Whitaker versus Darren Till.
Very good fight. I mean, very, very good fight. I think it's a great confidence booster and builder for Bobby. I think he comes back.
He came back the way he needed to.
He got his swagger back. He got plenty of octagon time without getting injured. Darren Till's not a fucking walk in the park. I don't know why Darren Till didn't kick more.
So, did you not know that he blew out his knee in the second round?
I did not know. I didn't read that.
So
that makes sense.
It was from the knee stomps that Whitaker was doing. Almost like that, not quite an oblique kick, but like an oblique knee stomp, basically. Mm-hmm. There were two in the second round. There's one right at the beginning of the second round. And Darren Till talked about in the post-fight interviews or in the post-fight press conference, not as an excuse, but just saying that he blew out my knee. I couldn't move as well as I wanted to.
And that makes sense because he
looked very timid.
That oblique stomp is so underutilized, but so effective. And I credit John Jones for that shit because he was the first one to really do it. What's crazy about it that people don't realize if you've never kickboxed or anything is that if that lands properly,
the timing of it is
as the opponent springs forward, that lead knee lands with all the weight, and right as it lands, you strike the top of that oblique, which is where all the tendons are attaching to the top of the kneecap and all that. And it's so destabilizing that even if you're just doing it in technique, right? Just to feel, it feels disconcerting at a 20% intensity. It feels it wobbles you. So when you have the adrenaline and the size of this motherfuckers, I mean, Darren Till had to be 205 pounds.
He's so big. How did he make 170? Right, he's fighting at 185 and he still looks huge.
That's a lot of momentum going forward. So, no, I mean, it was great, dude. It was a very good fight.
Yeah. I'm excited for Bobby Knuckles' next fight.
I am too. I want Till to really stop being so reckless with his career because he's going to talk himself out of the top echelon.
That's a great way to put it.
He's holding on there because he's the only Brit right now, and we love him. And he's been a good. His rise was big, but it's a bit rushed. I would like to see him be more deliberate coming forward.
But if he's able to win his next fight, and if Israel Adesanya is still a champ, Izzy will fight him because he likes that matchup.
I agree, but he's starting to develop a trend that's going in a Cowboy Cerrone type of way.
Sure, never being able to beat kind of that upper echelon. 110%.
And that's because sometimes Cowboy, in my opinion, comes back too quick and takes a tough fight back to back.
And to be fair, Darren Till, this is only his second fight at middleweight.
Yes, that too.
You have to give him credit for that, right? You have to give him credit for moving up to the division. His first one was against whom? Kelvin Gastelum, I believe?
Yeah.
And then the second one against Robert Whitaker, a.k.a. the former champ. I'm not saying this is like an excuse for Darren Till, but let's give the guy some credit.
Yeah.
With a blown out knee from the second round, still in that fight.
He's a tough motherfucker, and it's a great division, and it was a good fight. It was a good main event.
Hold on, let me talk about how good Bobby Knuckles looked, right? He looked so fluid, so explosive. The way he just throws out his hooks, they're so violent every time.
He was in a very good flow, and I think that it clearly shows that we had been dealing with a burnout Bobby Knuckles prior to this.
Yes.
You know, he had to make hay while the sun was shining, in the words of our pops, and he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it comes at a price, and I mean, and you know, one of the things we don't factor is, you know, I grew up traveling since I was very young on airplanes. You could not right now today. If you gave me an all expenses fucking trip to New Zealand or to Australia, just because of the plane ride, it's a no thank you to me.
Sure.
I'm not getting in a fucking plane for 20 hours for anything. To see what? To see some shit I can see on Google? Dude, I'm into going to Lake Tahoe by car. You know what I'm saying? I want to go to Colorado in a vehicle that I control. Sure. Like, and I get it. To some people, like, it definitely is an opportunity to travel the world. But as somebody that's in the military, it's a beast. I mean, yes, you see things, but like we were talking last week, effort. Traveling and seeing the world requires effort. Yeah, even if you stay at the plushest places, you're still having to pack your shit, get in the car, go on the plane, get off, go through customs, get your passport, get your bag. You forgot the charger adapter. You know what I mean? Like, it's all those little things. And this is part of their everyday fucking life. And in the case of MMA, you're kind of almost in some way, some of these people that I know, in a way, they use it as a way to see the world.
Totally.
So they see the world, and they're not broke after. But you don't have anything to show for it after, except for a bunch of Instagram pictures of you in Abu Dhabi and you in Yas Island. Well,
if you want, but
you're still driving a busted ass fucking
if
Corolla.
You're winning the fights, right? If you're winning your fights.
Yeah, I mean, to different measures of success.
Right.
But from the standpoint of view, and this is what I was talking to my wife about this morning, that I love is Yas Island. Fucking success. They put all that money in there. They cranked out
money in there.
No, whoever it is. They cranked out so much content in a short amount of time with a captive audience of the whole world. That's beautiful for MMA.
Well, I mean, time out though, but only one Fight Island card has done like exceptional numbers.
No, but it doesn't matter. It was on every sports show across the planet. That's all that was going on.
But hold on, time out though, because like, right, I guess just from speaking from people, right? Like, I feel like the average sports fan didn't necessarily know that UFC was still going on. Just anecdotally, from talking to people.
Yes, possibly, but it's more than ever.
Yeah, so I don't disagree with that. I guess I don't disagree with that.
You know,
the real question to ask, right? Because I don't necessarily think Robert Whittaker gets a title shot off this. Do you?
Not yet.
Right?
Not yet.
So
not yet, but we're building up.
We have Israel Adesanya fighting Paulo Costa. That fight has been done September 15th. Robert Whittaker is still the number one contender. After Paulo Costa, who's number 2, there's Jared Cannonier. And then there's Yoel Romero at number 4. And we've already seen that 2 times.
Bobby gets the next shot.
You don't think he's going to have to fight Jared Cannonier?
I don't think so. There's not enough of a name there. Bobby can make an argument.
Here's the thing, right, though? But I don't think it's a crazy assumption to make that the Izzy Paulo Costa fight one.
Feed him to UL. Cannonier to UL.
Let me finish.
He's a gatekeeper.
I don't think there's a very strong argument to be made that Izzy, or the winner of the Izzy Paulo Costa fight, is going to be on the shelf for 6 months plus. So I think that's going to be a very violent fight.
Possibly.
So if that's the case,
possibly, but you never know.
Right, you never know. But right, if that's the case, I'm just not sure Whittaker's going to want to wait 6 months or 9 months, however long this medical suspension may or may not be. Jared Cannonier's right there. He's the next guy up.
Yeah, but if that does happen,
when was the last Jared Cannonier fight?
Maybe
he needs a fight.
Yeah. But if that does happen, then maybe you do that. And the only way that you make that work is by making it worth to Bobby, which means he'd have to be part of a main event. No, part of a main event on a pay-per-view.
Right. So they make an interim belt for
and for him and for Cannonier, he gets exposure of moving up to pay-per-view. And now you build up that name. Regardless of what happened, he'll come more into the consciousness. And
who even was Cannonier's last fight? How did he sneak into number 3? Do you know his last fight?
No. But
that's an incredible thing that he's able to sneak into the top 3 of a seemingly stacked division. And neither of us can think of who his last opponent was. So his last 3 opponents: Jack Hermanson, Anderson Silva, David Branch. And right, this is not the Anderson Silva of old, obviously.
But it's names. David Branch was a champion in a different organization. Anderson Silva's Anderson Silva. I have no problem with that.
And he's moved, and he's right, because prior to that, he was still fighting at light heavyweight against Dominic Reyes, Jen Bilal's.
See, listen to the resume.
Yeah.
So
Right.
the man
He's not
has
necessarily
earned
there.
his keep.
Yeah.
You know. So no, it was beautiful. I'm excited for them to come back to Vegas.
Right.
Of course, I'm invested in the next card
Totally.
because my buddy Justin James is going to be on that shit, and I hope Justin can do what that gentleman is doing over there, where Justin's going to step up to every fight card that he can.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like and that this is the time to make your mark. This is how Connor did it. You know, except that Connor's a very peculiar personality, but I think that there's a lot of corporate advancement opportunities within the fighting ranks of the UFC right now.
So Justin James doesn't fight this weekend. He fights the following weekend on
10th?
August 8th.
Oh, the 8th. So
Yes.
that's a Wednesday?
No, that's still Saturday.
It is.
Yeah. So the next card is going to be Derek Brunson and Edmund Shabazian. That is the card that was being headlined by Holly Holm and Irene Aldana.
And whatever
and she
happened.
tested
Is that
positive.
a Saturday?
Yes. This is
So the next
following
2
Saturday.
Saturdays are fight nights, and then we got Stipe and motherfucking Cormier.
August 15th. Correct.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah. We are back live on the Children of the Beast, and we are here with our special correspondent. What is your name?
James.
James. And today, I will be giving James a Who's That Pokemon quiz. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, after this Pokemon quiz, I will be giving him a dinosaur quiz.
You see that? He's already ready to run the show. But alrighty, let's start. So I'm gonna put some music. So hold on, just do like a dance move real quick. Okay. Very good. Very good. So, James, who is that Pokemon?
Pikachu.
And correct. That was in fact Pikachu.
Well, that was an easy one.
That one was very easy, but this was gonna be a little bit harder, okay? So, James, who is that Pokemon?
Mewtwo.
Ooh, it was Mewtwo. Alrighty. Now, can you go 3 for 3? Do you think you can do it? All right, this is gonna be a little bit tricky, I think. So, James, who's that Pokemon?
Too easy. Eevee.
Ooh, you went 3 for 3. That was Eevee. Well
I
done.
feel like you have to give him some stompers. Like, you increase the level of difficult. Was that difficult? I don't know.
No, it was not.
Well, when you're an expert of Pokemon like myself and James are,
Can you try to trick him?
can I try to trick
Give
him?
him a hard one.
No, I know almost every Pokemon show, and I've almost watched every Pokemon show. So yeah,
Okay. Who's your favorite Pokemon?
my favorite Pokemon is Greninja.
Ooh, Greninja is a cool one. Okay.
Yeah, Greninja.
What? Hold on a second.
What?
Repeat that name.
Greninja.
Yeah.
Greninja.
It's the evolved form of
Is
a
it
frog.
a green ninja?
No.
No, it's
a
only one
blue
E in the front.
It's a blue one. Yeah, that's Greninja.
You knew immediately. That was just a silhouette.
I didn't even know what a ball.
So that's what Greninja looks like, Carlos.
I see.
Yes, of
There
course.
you
Hold on. I'm trying to look for something that's going to stump him.
Nothing's gonna stop me, dude.
You don't think?
No.
Okay, I think I have one that's going to stump you. But I think, can you tell who this one is?
Ooh, that one we already did. That's Pikachu.
Ooh, so I tricked him.
Oh.
Pikachu has 2 different character models. This is the older one. So I thought he wouldn't get it because he's so young. So good job. That was Pikachu.
Very good.
That was a trick question.
Okay, so now we have an announcement. What's your announcement? Tell people what you're going to do next week. You're going to be
Next week, I'm gonna. What's it called?
Jiu-Jitsu correspondent?
Next week, I'm gonna be the Jiu-Jitsu corresponder.
So you're going to break down submissions for the fights and tell us how the guy got a submission, right?
Uh-huh.
And you're going to talk to your coach about it?
Yeah.
And explain it to people how it happens?
Yes.
All right.
And then I have one final question before we go, James.
Okay.
Are you going to change the hair dye color? Are you going to change colors on your hair?
No.
No, you're going to keep it that color?
I'm gonna keep it this color as long as I can.
Oh, I think I'm going to change my color.
To what color?
I think I'm going to change it to purple. What's so funny?
That's more of a color for girls.
There's no such thing. Colors are colors. Colors aren't for boys. Colors aren't for girls. They're just colors.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah, for real. Agree to disagree, right?
Now, the next test is for you guys. This next one's dino test.
Well, here, we always have to leave the audience with something they want to see. So, next time, the dinosaur quiz.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty? And that is Children of the Beast, episode number 4. Follow the show on YouTube, Children of the Beast podcast. Like, subscribe, follow Carlos at Wolfchild1980. Follow me, Andrew _the Hut with 2 T's. And James, you don't have social media, so they can't follow you. That's a good thing. You don't need it. Anyways, James, thank you for being on the show. Can't wait to see you next week as our jiu-jitsu correspondent. Say bye to the people.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.